Hi friends, Shayla here. So I am here to do another video for you. Today is going to be the next episode in my new and notable series. This is where I talk about new manga coming your way or things that have recently released that I think you guys should be putting on your radars or at least trying out. So I've got 3 titles to talk about today. I usually wait till I have 5 for these kinds of videos, but I feel like the timeliness of this video, I really need to talk about these now. Hi friends, I forgot to include this particular title in this video, so I'm gonna hurry and talk about it. And yes, so let's talk about Maison Ikkoku. Maison Ikkoku is a boarding house style story in which we're following a young man who is kind of taking a gap year. He failed his entrance exams into his college status, and so this is about him and the boarding house that he lives in. It's kind of a crazy bunch of characters that live there. And then all of a sudden they get a new boarding house manager and a beautiful widow. And it's really just kind of fun and satire. This is from the same mangaka who does Ranma 1/2 and Inuyasha. And we're seeing a lot of their work getting reprinted right now. And this is one of those works, and I really enjoyed this first collector's edition. I thought it was a really good time. I definitely plan on collecting physical volumes of this one, and I think it's worth a mention, which is why it landed in this video. I don't know why I wasn't even thinking about it when I initially filmed it, but wanted to include it. Thought you would enjoy it. Talk to you later. Fly Me to the Moon by Kenjiro Hata. This is out, I believe, the first week of August, or early August at least. This one's coming out from Viz Media, and in this one we're following a young man named Nasa, or NASA. I'm not sure on the pronunciation on this particular one, but he is teased all growing up about his name being spelled the same as NASA here in the US, and I guess it means like starry sky in Japanese as well in the translation. So he's kind of teased his entire life. Once he realizes why he's being teased, it clicks for him. He decides to make changes and make himself this big, strong, important person. So he's been studying a lot. He's getting ready to go take this entrance exam. It seems to be in the evening for some reason. And while he's at the bus stop, he notices a pretty girl. And so he runs out and chases after the pretty girl and ends up hit by a truck. That kind of doesn't faze him initially. And he goes continuing to chase after her. And he wants to get her name, and he asks her out, essentially. And she says, the only way I can be with you is if we're married, so will you marry me? And he says, yep, I'll marry you. And so time passes. He turns 18, and all of a sudden she turns up on his doorstep ready to marry him. So this is kind of about them getting married and the shenanigans of being married, and there's still a lot of mystery with her. Her name is Tsukasa, and so there's a lot of mystery about her. There are references to the Princess Kaguya tale, you know, the woman from the moon who comes to Earth and tempts all these men, and she realizes she can't stay and goes back to the moon kind of situation. So that's kind of alluded to, so I don't know if this is like kind of a retelling or a new take on it. I'm not 100% sure, but anyways, the art style within the series is absolutely stunning. I highly recommend checking this one out when it comes out. I really enjoyed my read of it. Solid 4, a really solid first volume. It's kind of just this cute, fun satire on like marriage, and there's this thing where because he kind of just was so invested and believed that she would be the one he would marry, he didn't really like date any other girls, so he'd never held hands or anything. And so it gets to a point where they're holding hands, like it's one of the first things that they do after they're married. And he calls it like an all-you-can-hold buffet. And so it kind of becomes this ongoing joke within the manga. It's really cute. It's really fun. I do recommend the series. The next one we're going to talk about is I Don't Know How to Give Birth by Ayami Kazama. And in this one, this is basically an autobiographical story of Ayami Kazama and her journey to having her first child. And it talks a little bit about her early marriage with her husband. They had some infertility issues, and so they talk about that for a little bit. And the candid conversations you have to have with the doctor. Once you've like gone through infertility stuff, like it totally makes sense, the conversations that she's having with the doctor. But if you've never experienced that, you're like, wow, these are really like personal questions. But anyways, I promise it makes sense, and it's all like very true to form. And this is just a really fun satire autobiography of her giving birth. And it's really cute. It's really fun. The art as well is really fun, almost 4-coma kind of style. And I just had the best time reading this. I just read it in one sitting. I found it to be enjoyable, and I felt like it was pretty true to form. I've not personally had children, but from what I've observed from my friends who have had children, this feels very much how they felt. So I feel like it's very true to form of an actual pregnancy. So it feels pretty real, maybe a little exaggerated at points for comedy purposes, but outside of that, I think it's pretty true to form. So again, this is a 1-volume story. There's not going to be multiple volumes on this one. I do think it's worth a pickup if you're interested in some comedy satire about pregnancy. I think it's really fun. Or if you're just totally clueless on what to expect of someone going through a pregnancy, this could be really fun to flip through as well. And just know that tone things down a little bit and you'll probably be there. And then last but not least for this video, we have the Ancient Magus' Bride, Jack Flash, and the Fairy Case Files. So this is a new series taking place within the world of the Ancient Magus Bride. So the story is by Yu Godai, the art is by Mako Oikawa, and the script supervisor is Kori Yamazaki. So Yamazaki is involved, making sure they don't do anything to corrupt this world that she has created, and they've created, and it's fantastic. I really loved this, and the art is pretty true to the style of Ancient Magus Bride as well. Perhaps a little different, but not massively. Like, I feel like the tone is still very much the same. And in this one, we're essentially following a young adult woman named Jack or Jacqueline Flash. And she is kind of an otaku a little bit. She's got her things she fangirls about. And she has a brother named Larry. They are both changelings. One was raised in the human world and one was raised in the fae world. And technically, Larry's the human and she is the fairy. So she should have been raised in the land of the fae, but he was. And so he's not wholly human anymore, obviously, because of all of his time spent in the land of fae. Anyways, they have a detective agency in New York City, and they go around solving crimes based in their paranormal world. And it's really fun. It's really interesting. We get to see old characters that we know of, ones that like to meddle, essentially. I think both of them kind of meddle in their own way. But we do get to see Lindell. If you're familiar with the Ancient Magus Bride, you know who Lindell is. And in this one, like, it's just really fun. And she always aspired to be like, oh, what's her name? Irene Adler from the Sherlock Holmes series, because she grew up reading those. She didn't want to be Holmes, she wanted to be Irene. And so that's kind of how this goes. Sorry, I was holding it backwards. And like I say, the art is lovely. I really like the characters. Larry, we don't know too much about yet. This first volume is very focused on Jack, and they have a handler that gives them jobs. Kind of seems shady, but they acknowledge that he kind of seems shady, but he's really not, kind of a situation. But I really strongly recommend people try this. It's seriously a lot of fun. There wasn't anything romantic at all, except for some side characters in one of the mysteries. But like our main characters, there's nothing romantic going on, obviously, because they're brother and sister. And yes, so this one is really fun. If you don't like romantic-centered stories, this is going to be a great series for you. Got a little less romance than straight-up Ancient Magus Bride, obviously. So I would recommend checking this one out. The world is really, really fun. You are just kind of dropped in the world without too much information. So you might have to read a couple volumes of the Ancient Magus Bride to kind of understand their grasp on the Fae world. But outside of that, like, this is so fun. Like, this is, of the three, this one's probably my favorite. Even though I'm giving them all 4 stars, this one's more like a 4.5. But then again, I'm very partial to the Ancient Magus Bride world, so I'm not gonna say that that's not true. So just letting you guys know that I loved this. I think everybody should give it a try. Yes. So friends, we've got some new things that are coming out, or that are currently out. Both Jack Flash and I Don't Know How to Give Birth are currently out, so you can go and pick those up in store today. And Fly Me to the Moon will be out soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope with all my heart that you find these videos informational and helpful, and that just kind of grouping up my first impressions does a little better than doing individual reviews for them. So anyways, I love you guys. Thank you. Again, if this is your first time at the channel, I would love it if you would subscribe and click the little bell so you know when I post new videos. So if you want to see more content like this, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.